Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. And yesterday I did a review for Tormented Souls on the Nintendo Switch, and I really enjoyed the game. And I told you about it, and I said I hadn't finished it yet. I thought I was near the end, and I was going to finish it last night. I did. And I needed that, kind of. I'll tell you about that in a second. But yesterday was a very intense day for me intellectually. My day job, I'm having growing pains with my day job because I have like two sets of duties that I'm not sure how to balance, and I lose track of one because I'm working on the other. And that is that by title, I'm a project manager. That's what my title says, project manager of IT and application development. So I should be managing projects by title. But reality is I'm managing some projects. I have a few that I'm in charge of. And I also have my developer job that I still have to maintain this legacy software, and I have to, on top of helping manage that project, I have to, and working with my co-developer on that project, who has been over the last few months trying to clean things up. I have to still do stuff like code-wise. I still have to jump into that project and fix bugs or take care of clients or whatever. I have no, two, a few other pieces of software that I have to jump into they're not really, I mean, they include my code. I wrote code for them, but they're more or less, glorified WordPress websites that I have to fix and work on. So it's like, where do I split my time? How do I figure that out? While I'm waiting on an email from this client, I'm trying to do something over here. While I'm working with a coworker on this problem, I'm trying to, it's I'm having really serious growing pains. I'm not sure how to approach it or where to go with that. But it feels like, you know, I'm I've never enjoyed split duty, split time. Like, I don't have, there's nobody telling me that I have to do 5 hours on this and 6 hours on this or whatever. It's completely up to me, but it's because I will get sucked into one project and I'm like, oh, I got to do this thing. Then other stuff falls behind for a day or two, or sometimes a week, because I'm really overwhelmed, or just, researching options and trying to figure out how to solve this the best possible way. So that was my day at work yesterday. I had fully intended, we had our morning stand-up. I talked to the team. I told my coworker that I was working on a problem that I needed to figure out, and I would get with him in the afternoon, and maybe we could go through the problem solving together. It never happened because a client reached out. They had an immediate need that I needed to take care of. I jumped onto that. Didn't get that finished until this morning. It's whatever. So that wraps. And then my side gig, I'm approached. I've had. I was assigned a task that on the surface seems like a very simple task. Take this thing and mutate it, right? But the way that this thing is stored in the database is not in a format that was conducive to doing quick and simple work on it. And so it took me hours to code up a solution. And it seems like a completely ridiculous, complex solution for something that should be simple. And I feel like, this is one of those imposter syndrome moments where I have a working solution. I developed a working solution. It's currently probably 60 lines of code, maybe 75 lines of code. It's not a lot, but it feels way, way, way clunkier than it should be. It feels like this should be a very simple do X, do Y, done. Instead, it turns into making process maps so that I can track how things change, so I can update references, and it feels like I'm doing something very, very, very wrong. But it works. And so I need to sit down with the product owner, hopefully today, and show him what I've done and see if that's the direction he wants me to continue going. Because at this point, I've spent a lot of his money developing this solution that's basically a prototype, and I'm not positive it's the best way to go forward. So we need to maybe talk about that, because I don't want to say, hey, here's my solution, and he just goes, this is unusable. Because I feel like if you, here's when I know that my code, or that my solution is not good. If I showed you the code right now, it would take you a very long time to understand what it's doing. It's doing a whole lot of assumption, and it requires you to really understand data structure to figure out how it's working. And I could fix a lot of that by breaking some components of it out and turning them into really well-named functions so that you could say, oh, all right, this function is doing that. I don't really care how it works. I just know what it's doing. And maybe that's the future, and maybe that's the correct way to do this. But anyway, the point is, that was a nightmare. I got it working. I decided to play Tormented Souls, and I thought when I got done, when I did the review yesterday, it was at lunchtime. There's a path that I hadn't explored yet. All the puzzles in the main mansion were finished. There was a path I hadn't explored with 2 doors. One of those doors had warning signs all down the hallway, all over it, and I thought for sure that was the end of the game. It was not even close. There was another 3 hours. We played, by we, I mean, M likes to sit, when we play these types of games, we really like to help each other. So M basically played this game with me, even though it's a single player game. She kept track of where stuff was, and we solved puzzles together, and it's really a fun experience playing that way. When I loaded last night's save, it was at like 7 hours and 40 some minutes, and I ended at 10 and a half hours, right? Or it was almost exactly 3 more hours of gameplay. So I wasn't near the end at all. And I had gotten to the point in sequence where I thought that I was really low on ammunition and I was really low on health packs, and there was no way I was going to survive to the end, because if I defeated the enemies that I knew were immediately available, then there was nothing left for me to fight a boss, which I assumed there would be a boss, unless they had a resupply room, and these types of games don't normally give you resupply rooms. But it worked out fine. I finished the game. It was great. I really enjoyed the experience. Yes, it's still, as I said yesterday, it has some very hokey writing and some very, very big leaps of assumption on the part of the player. And just, you have to kind of... Whereas games like Resident Evil relied on just the horror part to be scary or to be immersive, it was a real world with monsters. This is, like I said, there's time travel, there's weird teleporting through mirrors, there's magic in this game, and you have to accept that as being okay, whatever, it is what it is. But it was really fun, and I really enjoyed the experience. Though I have the whole last 3 hours of the game, I was extremely stressed out by it. Like, I really thought I had to conserve every single bullet that I had left. And I walked through that thing on such a narrow tightrope, feeling stressed the entire time. It really amped up the end of the game for me. And then, to spoiler alert, if you're going to play it, the end boss was the easiest enemy in the entire game. Like, it was easier than the normal little guys that run around. It was the stupidest, easiest end boss I've ever fought, and I was perfectly okay with that. I felt great. It felt really wonderful to end the game on a high note like that. So, good stuff. But I needed the break, and I had it today. Back at work, taking care of client issues, taking care of team issues, figuring that stuff out, and then we have soccer tonight. So I don't know that I'm going to get any gaming time in tonight, and hopefully I can get some time in with the product owner of the new project, because I want to make sure I'm not doing something dumb. He's an extremely good developer, and I think that he will look at my code and be like, why aren't you just doing this? And I'll go, oh yeah. But I brainstormed this solution with M and another senior developer friend, and neither of them really came up with better solutions either. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is objurgatory. It is an adjective meaning a critical attitude, voicing or implying an objection or complaint. I can, to some extent, sympathize with the objurgatory tone of certain critics who feel that I write too much. Joyce Carol Oates, an American author. Objurgatory. Obgurgatory. Objurgatory. That's an interesting word. Is that not just like, is that being a contrarian? Or just being a critic?